Well, good evening and welcome once again to Ndaba Africa. This is Chris Wyatt broadcasting live here from central Pennsylvania. Tonight, slightly different approach, not focused so much on Africa, but rather talking about something of great interest to a lot of people, and that is frequent flyer programs and loyalty programs in the age of COVID-19, the Wuhan coronavirus. What impact is that going to have on your loyalty programs? For those of us who travel frequently, whether it's for business, official travel, or it's simply for leisure travel, we accumulate frequent flyer miles with airlines and points which hotel programs have. And so folks wondering what's happening with those points, what's happening with those miles. Well, I'll say up front that I had hoped to do something about this, say, a week or two ago, as it's something that came to mind now that my travel schedule is greatly curtailed, not traveling around the country, around the world, and I'm not amassing the normal number of points I would get, for instance, through the hotel chains like Hilton and the Hilton Honors program. I'm not able to travel. So what happens to my status? Does it continue? Will the mile or will the points expire? And the same question arises with airlines beyond the simple question of what about your reservations? What about bookings? What about refunds? Things like that. Those are things that customers have been dealing with for some time now. But early on, another question here is what happens? So I was going to do this story about a week or two ago, but it was a bit premature to do it then, as a lot of different hotels and airlines have implemented policies or updated them. Initially, what most of the airlines were doing is that if they were extending miles or extending the expiration of miles, it was applied almost entirely to East Asia, to China, Hong Kong, and places like that that were directly affected back in January. But by March, hotels and airlines began changing their programs. But before I get into that, let me talk very quickly about the current situation we find around the globe with the Wuhan coronavirus, or COVID-19 by its scientific name. At this hour, sad to say that around the planet, over 1 million people now have been confirmed with the coronavirus. 1,015,059 people have been confirmed. Sadly, at this stage, we have 53,167 deaths attributable to the coronavirus. Here in the United States, where we lead the world in confirmed cases, we have 244,877 cases of the virus, and we have passed the 6,000 threshold with 6,070 people who've perished from COVID-19. In Pennsylvania, the state that I currently live in, we have 7,016 cases, up markedly from last week, with 90 fatalities. In York County, where I'm currently situated at, 102 cases. Just this evening, we crossed the 100 threshold, and our first fatality occurred today in York. There you go. In Southern Africa, which I tend to report on frequently, we have 1,462 cases in South Africa, which is the most across the continent, now with 5 fatalities. After that, the numbers are much lower. Zambia at 39, 1 fatality. Namibia 14, Mozambique 10, Zimbabwe at 9 with just a single fatality. Eswatini with 9, the former Swaziland, Angola with 8, Botswana with 4, and a fatality, which was confirmed after the fact. Someone who passed away was later confirmed that they had the virus. Malawi with 3, and Lesotho still not reporting any cases of COVID-19. So with that, let's get back to the subject at hand, and that specifically is the discussion here about what happens to my status with my frequent flyer program or my hotel loyalty program. What about my miles? What about my points? And ultimately, here's a question which folks really need to ask, and I don't think many people are talking about, is that, will my favorite airline even survive? For some folks, that's a question. Now, for those who travel a lot, you're probably well aware that there are 3 major consortiums of airlines that group together to share bookings, and they also share their frequent flyer mileage programs. And that is Star Alliance, which has 26 airlines. And under Star Alliance, you find such big names as Air Canada, Air China, ANA from Japan, All Nippon Airways, Ethiopian, Lufthansa, South African, and United, Turkish as well. So that's Star Alliance with 26 airlines. SkyTeam with 19 airlines includes big names like Air France, Kenya Airways, KLM, Delta. And then the final one here that has the other groupings is One World with 13 airlines, but some big names there, including American Airlines, British Airways, Cathay Pacific, Japan Airlines, Qantas, and Qatar. So those are the 3 major programs. And if you visit their websites, you'll see other websites, how each of them have information leading to each of the airlines to talk about their different programs. So those are the 3 major alliances for frequent flyer miles: Star Alliance, SkyTeam and One World. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find any information on Lufthansa, which is one of my major frequent flyer programs so far. But switching over to hotel loyalty programs, and this is something that I think that would be wise for the hotels and the airlines to do. That is to consider extending the expiration period and also extending the status of people who have elite status. People who are unable to travel right now, it's through no fault of their own that they're not booking in your hotel. Now, I realize that's at a cost to the hotels, but the cost is minimal to maintain that loyalty. Whenever this current freeze and activity finally ends, then travelers will get back on the road. And hotels that have been loyal to their elite members will find that their elite members will probably stick with them and be able to utilize their benefits of being an elite status. For instance, if you're a Hilton Honors Gold or Diamond member, you don't have to pay for breakfast, especially at the Hilton chain, which is quite nice. Breakfast at the Hilton chain can be quite pricey depending on location. There's a number of other benefits that come along with that. So many of these different hotel chains, and I'll cover a couple of the big ones very quickly here. So Accor, the French chain, initially extended the status of those with silver, gold, platinum, and diamond status for an additional year for everyone in the greater China, mainland, Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan areas. Now, one thing to remember about all these programs is that these things are changing rapidly as events unfold. Hotels and airlines are among the worst hit by this as governments freeze movement and basically freeze economies in place, which is preventing people from taking advantage or using hotels and airlines along with other services, transportation services. But Accor came out with a program, but so far it looks like the most generous program to date has been Best Western Hotels and Resorts, which has extended all of its members' current status through January 31st of 2022. So nearly 2-year extension on your current status. If you have a top level status with Best Western, you'll maintain that till 2022, regardless of whether you stay in one of their properties again or not. That's very generous, very smart of the Best Western chain. Beyond Best Western, IHG, International Hotels Group, which includes the Holiday Inn chain, they also initially in February, mid-February, extended member status to those who were based in China. That was later extended to others, and it's changing as we talk right now. Marriott has a very confusing program. I'm not going to go into that. Radisson has extended elite status through February of 2022 for members whose points would have expired in February 2021. So you get to carry it for another year as a consequence of that extension. And Wyndham Hotels has done something similar. They have initially did their programs in the Pacific region, but then later they've updated this. So I'd like to recommend to some folks here that one really great place to find out about all these things is a website called The Points Guy. The Points Guy. If you go to that website, you'll find they have excellent articles. They have a complete guide to airline elite status during the coronavirus outbreak. That's written by Andrew Kanesh, and the most current update is from yesterday. And he warns you that these things update frequently, so you should check back. And then the other one, they have a complete guide to hotel elite status during the coronavirus outbreak. This is an event that obviously is having a major impact on airlines and hotels around the world. It is in the airline and the hotel industry's best interest to extend these statuses and not penalize their members when the members can't patronize the airline or the hotels. Those that do are likely to retain a loyalty, as I said. And so for those of us who are Hilton Honors members, for instance, quite grateful that they've extended our current status. I'm a Diamond member, so I'm happy that'll be extended for another year because as we sit here frozen in time, unable to stay in a Hilton property, we can't amass points or accrue stays to ensure that we keep our status. So it's very kind of them to do that, along with these other folks. Airlines, a similar situation. You really have to feel bad for the airlines. They have tremendous operating costs, and each day they sit stationary, they lose business. So with that, that's a slight update on what's happening with affinity programs or the frequent flyer programs and mileage programs, loyalty programs with the airlines and the hotels. And so with that, I'd like to thank you for tuning in. A slight little technical problem there with the music. Didn't quite work out for me. We'll catch you here next time on Indaba Africa. This one's a little bit different, as I said, not focused solely on Africa, just a little bit about affinity programs, and thought I'd share that with folks. Go to company websites, or you can go to the Points Guy and get a roll-up of all these programs and the most recent information. Take care.